first off, I know a little bit about your background, but if you can tell us a little bit about your background, and then with so many areas of law to be able to practice, why family law? Why now? What drew you in, and what are you working on currently?
Yeah, I'm Audrey Stone. I'm a family law attorney. I am a part of OACP, the Oregon Association of Collaborative Professionals. So I'm originally from Utah, right outside Salt Lake City. I grew up there and went to Westminster College. And when I was in undergrad, I thought I wanted to be a mental health therapist. So I have my undergrad in clinical psychology. And I worked at a counseling center for like 4.5 years in Utah. And by the end of that, I was figuring out what grad school program to go into. And I didn't feel called to any of the counseling programs specifically. And I kind of had a quarter life crisis, I guess, and
I love
decided to take the LSAT, just throw my hat in,
it.
see if maybe that would be my right path, and I did. So I took the LSAT 1 month after deciding I was going to, and then applied to law schools and got into the University of Oregon, among others. So I attended UO, and my focus there was child and family law. So I had a scholarship, and I was part of groups at the University of Oregon School of Law um, for child and family law issues. So I always knew I wanted to work with families and kids. I thought I would end up in the child welfare system, advocating for families there. And I did do that during one of the summers of law school. But they don't hire right out of law school. And so I ended up leaving there and joining a firm that practices family law and have been doing it ever since. So I'm 4 years into family law, 3 as a barred attorney. And I've really enjoyed honing in my practice to be inclusive and settlement minded. And so that's what I'm working on now, is building out my more settlement minded practices of mediation and collaborative law. And I settle most of my cases, even if they come to me as litigation cases. It's rare that I go to trial. I did just go to trial last week, but I do about one big one a year, but I try to all of my cases. And that's really what I love to do, is negotiate and figure out plans for families that work best for them and their kids.
I love that. I've never heard someone that's gotten accepted into many law schools just as a whim to take the LSAT. So kudos to you. And then this concept of settlement mindset, and having that really low quota, right, for litigation is really kind of that aspect of the collaborative process that both you and I went through. And so it's really good to hear that part of it. And the journey, I know, so the journey of the divorcing person is unique to each individual. So and it's a journey, right? And if you could change anything or give heads up to your potential clients, what would you share, having seen many journeys along the way?
Yeah.
So that for people that are starting down this path or in contemplation around it.
Yeah. I think it's um I have multiple pieces of advice here. The first is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So be ready for that.
Mhm.
Um, unless you and your partner agree on everything, the divorce process is likely going to be 6 months plus. And so getting into a headspace where you're able to do that day after day for 6 months is important. And on the same note, leaning on your support people and hiring an attorney. So um, it may sound self-serving to say hire an attorney, but if your opposing party or your soon-to-be ex-spouse needs um, or I guess has an attorney, I absolutely recommend that you have an attorney. And it is someone to help stress about the legalities while you focus on the emotional side of things. I just had a client conversation, and I was telling her to like let me stress about the legal issues here. Let me do the filings, like let me hold that burden for you while you focus on you and your kids and making sure that they're taken care of and getting back to school and everything. So I say that a lot. And so leaning on your support people, but more than an attorney, leaning on family and friends to have an outlet to share what you're going through, share your stress, hiring a therapist, really just building that network around you to support you, because it is a long haul for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I often tell clients that I work with too, it's like it's a rebirth, whether it's the most amicable or not, you're entering a new chapter. So I love this aspect of like, let each person, specifically you as the attorney, to do their zone of genius while,
Yeah.
people caretake for themselves and get support. I love that. And so I can only imagine the benefit of someone who's going through a divorce to have a strong team. What do you recommend and what you look for as a strong team? Like, how do you build out your team, or how do you create your team? Again, having had that collaborative training that you and I both went through, but how are you building it out now? And how did you, and how do you see best practices of things that work? And it's probably individual specific, right?
Yeah. And I think that's mostly what my answer is going to be is I've learned that certain professionals don't work for everyone. And so looking for certain personality types that another professional that I know could really step in and help. And so I've leaned on my network, especially, and mostly I've leaned on financial individuals. That is not my expertise. So I'm learning at the same time as my clients. But it's nice to share that burden and have someone else's expertise come in and again educate me as the attorney and my client about their finances and their options going forward. I just used Janet in another case. She helped me or helped my client figure out like the assets and the split, and that was really helpful for my client. So really looking at personalities and looking at best fit for my clients in that sense. I also know of parenting evaluators or parenting time coordinators, and that's a definite personality fit. And so knowing the zones that that professional works best in and picking and choosing for my client is helpful.
When do you do that? So do you find that most of your clients specifically are coming to you already, like having had a divorce coach or having gone to like a real estate professional that's a certified divorce lender? Or are they coming to you first and then seeking out more of that kind of vetted approach where you're pulling in your referral network that way based on what they need?
Yeah, so I think all of my cases I'm first contact. I practice out of Lane County, which is more rural than Portland counties. And I find that people really aren't educated about alternative ways of doing divorce. A lot of people just say, I need a divorce attorney or I need a family law attorney because my partner is yelling about this or texting about that, and my kids are upset about this. So I seem to be first point of contact a lot of the times, and then I pull in professionals that I think can assist the case, keep the cost of the case down, really helped me be educated about the topics and when I'm going into court and advocating for my client. So I seem to be the first stop there. And then I pull in my resources.
Yeah, it's so interesting how each county is different, right? With the type of the approach, even. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think education is needed in the more smaller
Mhm.
counties, the more rural counties, to educate people that there's other options for
Mhm.
divorce. And that's part of my push too, is putting out, a new website and really getting some information out there that this is possible in Lane County. It's
Mhm.
just there's not a collaborative network here.
Mhm.
There's a couple of mediators here, but they're also litigation attorneys. So
Mhm.
it's not like the traditional style of mediation. It's really a litigation-based mediation. And so I try to have those conversations up front in my consults that, like, these are the options. I don't want you to tell me any information if you want me to mediate your case, right? So I'm having those conversations right off the bat
Mhm.
about the different ways, like methods of doing a family law case, and then figuring out which method's going to be best for them, considering their soon to be ex or ex's behavior and
Mhm.
participation in the case.
Yeah, and so even in the county and in the clientele, it's never one size fits all, even in the collaborative, right, alternative space. So I really like that. And it's like, again, building our network, right, of understanding not everyone's just because of their skill set going to be the match for everybody else. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I find this type of work, getting to know each other more and more is really impactful. I know it is in my practice as well. Um, do you have one memorable case that you've worked on? And if so, like what impacted you about that case?
Yeah, I do. Um, so my biggest win, which no one wins in family law, but
Mhm.
my biggest win was changing custody from a mother to a father. I represented the father. Uh,
Mhm.
and it was really a sense of justice that happened there, because the mom had been dishonest throughout the process. And so it felt um, really good to have that dishonesty recognized for my client and help him see that he's in reality when maybe she wasn't at certain points. And it just feels like everything is out of your control and everything is crazy and no one's living in your reality. And in family law cases, everything feels upside down. And so to have his truth validated was really impactful. And so that
Yeah.
case has stuck with me the most. Um, but yeah, it's not always that case, but
Mhm.
that's my most memorable for sure.
I love that. That's you don't hear that often either, right? It seems like it's almost like turning the ocean liner. It takes 5 miles to stop before it can turn around. That must have been like a huge turnaround.
Yeah, it was, and it was right for this child,
Hmm.
for her safety, and so knowing that and having people believe him was really impactful. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, that just speaks to also your mission and child advocacy. So that must have like been even more so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can people find you and get a hold of you? You mentioned a new website. Where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be launching our new website, but it's the same website address. That is Larwick. I'm typing it in now, larwick.com. It's also larwicklaw.com. So if you type in either, you'll reach us. Um,
And how do you
and
spell that?
LARWICKLAW.com.
Mhm.
And you'll see me on there right now. it's not the best highlight of my skills, mostly because I joined a personal injury firm. And
Mm,
I'm creating my full family law practice in connection with this personal injury firm. And so they threw me on there, but we're creating a whole website that encapsulates our whole practice,
yeah.
that really outlines all of my skills and how I practice. But that's coming soon, but
Mhm.
be the same web address, so hopefully you can find me there.
Great. And you cover all of Lane County, is that correct? And what cities do you mostly work in?
Yeah, so my primary practice is here in Lane County, which is Eugene, Springfield,
Mhm.
primarily. But I take cases from Cottage Grove, Crestwell, Junction City. Um, I've had a sweet home case. I'll take cases up in Lynn County, and I'll take cases in Deschutes County.
Mhm.
And I've had cases out of Douglas County. So like the outlying smaller counties I do practice in as well.
Mhm. Great. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share? Or do you feel good?
I don't think so. Yeah, this is fun.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah, thank you so much for giving your time.